Have you ever noticed how a man's actions in intimate moments can reveal much more than any words he might say? It's not just what he says, but the way he moves, the gleam in his eyes, the pause in his breath when he's by your side that convey profound messages, often impossible to express verbally. These gestures carry an ancestral language, a communication that transcends the barriers of words and connects directly with our most primitive and true essence. Carl Jung, one of the greatest thinkers of analytical psychology, believed that genuine love transcends the surface and manifests in deeper layers of the psyche, almost imperceptible to the inattentive eye. For him, intimacy is one of the most honest expressions of human feelings, a portal to the unconscious where masks fall, and the truth emerges without filters or disguises. Jung understood that in moments of greatest vulnerability, when psychological defenses dissolve, the authenticity of feelings reveals itself in the purest and most undeniable way. The way a man touches you, looks at you, or surrenders in the most personal moments reveals what truly pulses in his heart, offend aspects that even he doesn't fully understand. These manifestations arise from the unconscious, from that deeper part of the psyche that doesn't lie or calculate, only expressing emotional truth in its rawest form. It's in this spontaneity that we find the most reliable clues about the true nature of someone's feelings. But how can we differentiate whether these actions reflect merely a fleeting physical attraction or a true emotional connection? How do we distinguish between superficial desire and transformative love? Jung suggested that authentic love leaves unmistakable clues, subtle signs that emerge spontaneously when the heart is truly involved. These signs have a unique quality they are impossible to fully fake, as they arise from a source far deeper than conscious will. Based on his profound psychology, I want to share 4 intimate actions that show when a man's feelings go beyond physical desire, expressing deep and genuine love. These signs are not rehearsed gestures or conscious strategies, they are spontaneous manifestations of the unconscious that reveal authentic emotional surrender. They are like footprints of the soul left unconsciously in moments of greatest intimacy. By the end of this text, you'll be more attuned to recognizing these behaviors and understanding what they mean in the context of true love, developing a refined sensitivity to capture these nuances that often go unnoticed. First sign: the gaze that pierces through you. In moments of intimacy, there's something almost transcendental in that prolonged gaze that arises in a moment of deep connection. It's not just burning desire, it's a look that seems to see beyond the physical, as if he's searching for the essence of who you are, trying to decipher the mysteries of your soul through your eyes. This type of gaze carries a different intensity, a meditative quality that reveals a quest for genuine connection. Jung said that the eyes are the windows to the soul, and this resonates deeply in this context. For him, a direct and sustained gaze is one of the most powerful forms of nonverbal communication, capable of conveying emotions and intentions that words could never adequately express. When a man stares at you intensely, without looking away, especially in a moment of mutual vulnerability, he is opening himself emotionally in a way that requires extraordinary courage. It's as if, without words, he is saying, "I'm here, fully present, and I want you to see me as I am with all my imperfections, fears, and hopes." This type of visual connection is rare because it demands courage to expose oneself without reservation, to allow the other to see not only what we show the world but also what we hide from ourselves. It's an act of radical vulnerability that few are willing to experience. Many men, influenced by rigid cultural norms that associate vulnerability with weakness, learn to dissociate sex from emotions, using intimacy as a temporary escape, not as a bridge to the other. They build emotional barriers that protect them, but also prevent them from experiencing deeper connections. But when love is true, the gaze changes completely. It's not just physical but carries a presence that transcends the present moment, a timeless quality that turns fleeting moments into eternity. Jung explained this through the concept of the anima, the archetype of the feminine that resides in the male unconscious. When awakened, the anima guides the man to seek a deeper spiritual connection that goes beyond the body and touches subtler dimensions of human experience. In this context, the eyes become a channel of communication between souls, not just between bodies, allowing essences to recognize and connect on a level that transcends superficial personality. On the other hand, the absence of eye contact is also profoundly revealing. If he consistently avoids looking at you, there may be affection or desire, but perhaps there's an emotional block, a fear of fully surrendering or being truly seen in his entirety. Jung called this the shadow parts of ourselves we repress, often due to fear, insecurity, or social conditioning. When these parts remain hidden, they prevent genuine intimacy from flourishing. When a man sustains his gaze with confidence and openness, he demonstrates not only trust in you but also in himself, allowing his vulnerability to surface without fear of judgment. Even subtle gestures, like closing his eyes during a kiss and slowly opening them afterward, carry deep meaning. It's as if Hayes reconnecting with you after a dive into the depths of the shared experience, confirming his presence, reaffirming the connection. This profound gaze is one of the most powerful signs of a genuine emotional bond, because it cannot be forced or faked for long. It's a moment of pure truth, where barriers fall, and souls meet without intermediaries. When this happens, you feel an unmistakable certainty in your heart. It's not just a meeting of bodies, it's a dance of souls that recognize and celebrate each other. Second sign, he cares more about your pleasure than his own. Have you ever noticed a man who, in moments of intimacy, seems more focused on making you happy than on seeking his own immediate satisfaction? This behavior goes far beyond courtesy or learned techniques. It's a reflection of a deep emotional connection that naturally shifts his priorities. For Jung, true love is an experience of conjunctio, a sacred union between two people that transcends natural egoism and creates something greater than the sum of its parts. When a man is truly in love, he prioritizes your well-being not out of moral or social obligation, but because your happiness becomes a genuine extension of his own. There's a subtle emotional fusion where the other's joy becomes a source of personal pleasure, creating a virtuous cycle of mutual care. Pure desire is often impulsive and seeks instant gratification, but love is inherently generous, seeking mutual connection and shared well-being. This man isn't trying to impress by following a script or proving his technical skills. He genuinely wants to see you fulfilled, radiant, completely at ease in your own skin. You notice this in the subtlest details, in the way he pays genuine attention to your reactions, studying them with the curiosity of someone who truly wants to know, and please in the infinite patience with which he discovers what makes you happy, without rush or pressure, or in the way he smiles spontaneously when he notices your joy, as if it were the greatest gift he could receive. For Jung, this behavior reflects the integration of the anima, which awakens in the man a deeper sensitivity, an expanded capacity to connect with the other altruistically. It's as if feminine aspects of care and nurturing are activated in his psyche, balancing more masculine energies of conquest and possession. This integration is a sign of emotional maturity and psychological growth. This attitude contrasts sharply with relationships driven solely by physical attraction or ego, where the focus is on personal conquest, self-validation, or momentary pleasure without consideration for the other. A man in love doesn't just want to possess you temporarily, he wants to create a sacred space where both can feel genuinely safe, valued, and free to express their authenticity without fear. He may ask how you're doing, not out of social formality, but with a genuine and deep interest that reflects his true emotional investment. His questions aren't mechanical but arise from a loving curiosity about your inner world, your feelings, your subtlest needs. Jung believed that love transforms natural egoism into something higher and transcendent, a genuine desire to nurture and protect the connection that has become precious. When he acts this way, Hayes communicating without words, your pleasure is my deepest joy, your safety is my absolute priority, your well-being is what gives meaning to this moment. This care is neither forced nor performative, it's a natural expression of love that transcends the physical and touches the heart directly, creating an intimacy that goes far beyond the body. Third sign, he remains emotionally present after intimacy. We often think that the peak of physical intimacy reveals everything about someone's feelings, but in truth, what happens in the moments that follow can be even more significant and revealing. Jung emphasized that physical intimacy has the unique power to temporarily dissolve ego barriers, allowing the unconscious to express itself freely, without the usual censorship of the conscious mind. That's why a man's behavior after sex is so profoundly revealing of the true nature of his feelings. When he truly loves, he doesn't emotionally disconnect or physically distance himself when the intensity of the moment fades. There's no abrupt shift in energy or sudden emotional closure. On the contrary, he consciously chooses to stay with her by holding you tenderly, talking about something seemingly trivial but meaningful, or simply remaining by your side in a silence filled with meaning and presence. This behavior is deeply instinctive, a pure manifestation of the heart that arises without strategic calculations or ulterior motives. It's as if something in his unconscious recognizes the sacredness of the shared moment and refuses to break it abruptly. Many men, conditioned by rigid social patterns that value emotional independence over vulnerability, associate these moments of openness with weakness and instinctively withdraw after intimacy, building protective walls. But when a man remains genuinely present, Hayes showing that he feels deeply safe being authentic with you, that he doesn't need to protect himself or maintain emotional distance. It's a silent declaration of trust and mutual acceptance that goes beyond words. In these precious moments, he may share completely unexpected thoughts, a forgotten childhood story that suddenly gained relevance, a recurring dream he never told anyone, a deep reflection on life, or even a contemplative silence that says more than 1,000 words could express. Jung called this the transcendent function, a magical moment in which the ego temporarily dissolves and two people connect on a deeper, more authentic level, soul to soul without intermediaries or barriers. You notice this genuine presence in seemingly simple but deeply meaningful gestures, in the tender way he strokes your hair, as if each strand were precious, in the gentle way he rests his forehead against yours, creating a bubble of intimacy in the serene gaze that seeks nothing specific beyond simply being there with you, sharing the present moment. It's not a calculated performance to impress, it's a genuine and spontaneous surrender. Of course, not every man who pulls away after intimacy is necessarily emotionally uninterested, maybe dealing with deep fears, unresolved insecurities, or attachment patterns developed in childhood that make closeness difficult. But when he chooses to stay, when he opens up without hesitation or resistance, Hayes clearly communicating, "You are my safe haven, my emotional refuge where I can be completely myself." These delicate post-intimacy moments are like a crystal-clear mirror that faithfully reflects the true depth of the emotional bond. It's in them that you see clearly how genuinely invested he is, not just physically but emotionally and even spiritually, in the connection you share. Fourth sign: when you move in harmony, almost without realizing it. There's something truly magical and inexplicable in the way two deeply in love people connect physically, as if their bodies develop a secret ancestral language that transcends verbal communication. Do you know that almost supernatural moment when his breathing aligns perfectly with yours, creating a shared rhythm? Or when, without any prior coordination or conscious signal, your movements complement each other with a perfection that feels rehearsed for years? An intuitive touch, a synchronized sigh, a subtle adjustment of position, everything flows with an organic naturalness that seems choreographed by invisible forces, but it's certainly not planned by the conscious mind. It's as if there's a higher intelligence orchestrating the dance between you, a bodily wisdom that goes far beyond what the intellect can comprehend or control. Jung explained this fascinating phenomenon through the revolutionary concept of the collective unconscious, a deep and universal reservoir of memories, patterns, and archetypes shared by all humanity over millennia. When two people are deeply connected on levels that transcend superficial personality, their bodies begin to reflect this invisible unity, as if they were part of a single larger organism, two cells of a single body. Modern scientists explain this phenomenon through the concept of limbic synchrony. When two people are emotionally connected, their most fundamental bodily rhythms like heartbeats, breathing patterns, and even brainwaves begin to naturally harmonize, creating an invisible neurological bridge between souls. It's as if the bodies recognize an affinity that the conscious mind may still be processing. This subtle synchrony is especially evident in moments of shared silence, when there's no need for words or verbal instructions. You shift positions simultaneously, as if you'd read each other's thoughts. You intertwine without any conscious effort, like two plants naturally growing toward each other, or you remain perfectly still, yet so deeply connected that you can physically feel each other's energetic presence filling the space. Jung related this transcendent experience to the universal archetype of the sacred couple, an ancestral image etched in the collective unconscious that symbolizes the harmonious union of opposites in perfect balance. It's as if, in these moments, you access an ancient wisdom about how two people can become one without losing their unique individualities. In stark contrast, relationships based solely on superficial physical attraction or limited compatibility tend to be more mechanical, rigid, with calculated, disconnected gestures that require constant verbal direction. They lack that organic fluidity, that intuitive dance that arises spontaneously when there's deep synchrony. But in true and mature love, everything flows with an ease that feels miraculous. He touches your waist exactly when you need support. Your head finds his shoulder, as if that space was created specifically for you. Your arms intertwine in patterns that feel familiar forever, as if you'd practiced this dance in other lives. This bodily harmony isn't something learned from books or tutorials. It emerges directly from the unconscious, like an instinctive ancestral dance that reflects the deep and multidimensional connection between you. For Jung, these moments are the living expression of enantiodromia, the alchemical process in which complementary opposites unite to form something entirely new and infinitely greater than the separate parts. When you move in this transcendent harmony, it's the physical body eloquently communicating what the mind may still be trying to articulate. We are a single organism, two expressions of the same essence, two halves that recognize and complete each other. The alchemy of love, according to Jung. For Jung, love is far more than a fleeting emotion or temporary psychological state. It's a profound and transformative alchemical process, a true metamorphosis of the psyche that fundamentally alters the internal structure of those who experience it. In the sacred encounter between anima and animust, eternal archetypes of the feminine and masculine present in each of us, regardless of biological gender connection, emerges that completely transcends the physical and touches spiritual dimensions of human experience. When a man truly falls in love, he doesn't just see the other person with his eyes, he recognizes in them something mysterious that resonates deeply with his own soul, like a distorted but familiar reflection of his deepest and truest essence. This sudden recognition creates an almost supernatural sense of familiarity, as if you already knew each other intimately before even meeting in this life, as if you were ancient souls reuniting after a long separation. But genuine love, for Jung, also requires extraordinary courage, the courage to lower all the carefully constructed defenses built over the years, to show oneself completely without the emotional armor that protects us from the world, to let the unconscious speak freely without censorship or control. It's an act of radical vulnerability that goes against all instincts of self-preservation. Many men build massive emotional barriers over their lives, protective walls raised by painful experiences, social conditioning, or deep fears of rejection and abandonment. But when love is genuine and powerful enough, these barriers begin to crumble naturally, not by external force, but by an internal transformation that renders protection unnecessary. In this process of opening, he may start sharing ancient and precious memories he never revealed to anyone, exposing deep insecurities he always kept hidden, or touching you with a gentleness that feels almost reverent, as if you were a sacred work of art he has the privilege of beholding and caressing. These gestures, often completely unconscious, are the authentic language of true love speaking through him, recognizing the silent language of the heart in the everyday practice of life and relationships. These four fundamental signs: gaze that pierces through all barriers, the genuine priority on your pleasure and well-being, the constant emotional presence after intimacy, and the natural synchrony of movements are direct manifestations of the unconscious that clearly reveal the true depth of a man's feelings. They are not romantic strategies learned from books, planned behaviors to impress, or conscious techniques to conquer. They are completely spontaneous and authentic expressions of a connection that goes far beyond the physical and touches emotional, psychological, and even spiritual dimensions of human experience. Jung teaches us with wisdom that true love is a fundamentally transformative psychological event, an experience lived not only in the conscious mind but in the physical body, the emotional soul, and subtle dimensions that science is only beginning to understand. It's an internal revolution that alters how we perceive reality, how we relate to ourselves, and how we connect with the other. When you recognize these subtle but unmistakable signs in your relationship, you're in the presence of something genuinely rare and precious, an authentic bond that touches the psychological, emotional, and even spiritual simultaneously. Connection that cannot be adequately explained by words or intellectual concepts alone but is felt viscerally in shared presence, spontaneous gestures, and the silent, natural harmony between two people who recognize each other on a deep level. This is the fundamental difference between superficial attraction and transformative love: the depth, authenticity, and ability to create a sacred space where two souls can meet, recognize, and celebrate each other, creating something greater and more beautiful than they could be individually. And now, tell me, have you noticed these revealing signs in your relationship? Have you felt him communicating more deeply with his body and presence than with words? Have you experienced those magical moments when everything seemed to flow effortlessly, like a natural and ancestral dance? Share your personal experience in the comments. It'll be amazing to hear other real stories and see how these deep connections manifest in unique and particular, yet universally recognizable ways. If this content touched you in some way, if you recognize something true in your own experiences, don't forget to like and subscribe to keep exploring together the fascinating and complex universe of psychology applied to human relationships. Until the next reflection.